You mentioned the word trauma. I guess we could talk a little bit what that even is. Trauma is something that you saw that you experienced that changed your mind to prepare it for chaos. Let's say that you're a young boy, your dad is your hero. That's where you feel the safest.
Hmm.
And then one day you see him hit your mom. And that just completely changes your brain, completely changes the way you see him. He's no longer your hero. You no longer feel safe with him. And now your brain is prepared for chaos. Welcome back to another episode of Built from the Inside Out. I'm Brianda Nava, your host, and I'm here with my amazing husband, Juan Nava. Hey, babe.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here today.
Absolutely, always.
Oh, thank you. All right, so today's episode is sort of a heavy one that I've sort of been avoiding. And the reason we're doing this one, we're going to be talking about fidelity. And the reason we're doing this one is because when Juan and I first had recently gotten married, so it's been a while, I had someone request a podcast or request a topic, and they said that their friend was going through some things. I think that she had gotten cheated on and she was feeling a little lost, didn't know what to do. And at that time, I had just gotten married. I was very happy. I was like, I don't even want to speak this right now because obviously it doesn't mean that I'm going to speak it into existence, but I was in my little la la land. I just wanted to think about like all the happy things and how happy I was. Um, but now it's been a few months. I'm not saying I'm not happy anymore.
I was
I
about to
am.
say you better still be in La La Land.
Yes. But what made me want to do it now is my cousin had asked me to be on his podcast and talk about this topic, infidelity. And I wrote down all my notes. I got ready for the podcast. And then at the end, I wasn't able to go. So then I was like, okay. I was like, I already have all my notes. This was requested. Let's go ahead and do it. And so I asked my husband to be here today and help me with this topic because as you guys know, we haven't been married for that long, but we do have some things that psychology tells us, and we have the things that the Bible tells us, and that's what we'll be sharing with you guys today. All right, so first of all, if this happened to you, I want to say I'm so sorry that you had to go through this. I know it's something very difficult. It's not an easy thing to go through. And cheating is a very selfish thing to do because the person who does it is only thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about their spouse or how it's going to affect their kids. And usually it's the kids who take the biggest hit. They're the most affected because they're little, they're more impressionable, and then they grow up with that trauma. And then they take that into their future relationships. And while I tell people that if someone cheats on you, it's not your fault because they could have talked about it with you, they could have offered counseling with you, or they could have simply just walked away, but instead they chose to go behind your back and do this. Well, it wasn't your fault that they decided to do this. It is your responsibility to heal. So that's also why we recommend therapy so much because it's up to you to take that step, to go to counseling, to come to God and to ask him for help to be able to heal and then moving forward, not let that affect your kids or your future relationships. Second, in this video, we're not giving advice or telling anyone what to do. All we're doing is telling you guys what we know based on psychology and what the Bible says.
Yeah, so I mean, we could start with what is fidelity for people who don't know or don't. It's not always said that way.
Mm, yeah, that's a good question because a lot of people have different definitions of what cheating is or what being faithful is.
Hmm.
So for me personally, I'll go straight to the Bible. It says if you look at someone and you lust that person in your heart, you already cheated. So how I interpret it is that as soon as you start thinking about that person that way, your your actions will follow your thoughts. So you're already headed in the wrong direction. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I mean to build on that, the Bible says, "Gouge your eyes out if they fail you." You don't got to go pick your eyes out, but I mean to build on that, yeah, I think it's So I feel it can be in human nature for one sex to find the opposite sex attractive, but it's like a muscle, right? You start building it and making sure that, like, no, my eyes are for my wife only or my husband only, and you practice that all the time, and it's a muscle. It becomes stronger. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about that in the last episode a little bit towards the end. What the Bible said about adultery,
Hmm.
and going back to what you said, how we tend to lean towards sin because of Adam and Eve,
Yeah.
and the heart. The if you guys have been watching my videos, I always say you are body, soul, and spirit, and the spirit is represented by the heart, and the Bible does say that the heart is deceitful. So whenever you listen to your heart, you tend to sin a lot of the times.
Yeah. I mean, you always hear it, that it's flesh. It's the nature of the flesh, right? To
Mhm.
do those things, but we're not, like you said before. We're not a spiritual encounter. We're spiritual creatures having a human encounter, right?
Mm.
So
We're spiritual beings having a human experience.
there you go. Yeah, she's a
Mhm.
little bit better versed than me. If I didn't know, women are better versed than men. So, but yeah, so I think that's where it kind of goes on that, and you have to, again, build that, build your spirituality, build your faith,
Mhm.
start doing all that, build your foundation, like we said last time. That way, it's not on sand, it's on a rock, and lean on the lean on the Bible. It's an
Mhm.
instruction guide. There's so much information in there.
Yeah, there really is. And so whenever we listen to the heart, the fruit is usually cheating, jealousy, hostility. I have this written in Spanish because it was going to be for a Spanish
Wow.
podcast. But when you go to God and you ask God for help, the fruit of the Spirit is usually love, compassion, self control, is one of them. Yeah, but you have to ask God, right? So whenever you get married, they'll read the Bible verse where it says that three strand rope.
A three-strand rope is stronger than a one strand.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hear that at face value, um, I mean, I'm quoting what we just heard in church recently. When you hear it at face value, you're like, what the heck? Three people? What is this, an entanglement or what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not it. When you get married, if you read the Bible on if you read the Bible on marriage, and um what you're really doing is you're making a covenant, right? You're making a covenant between you, your spouse, and God. So that's the three strands, is you, the spouse, and God is stronger than one, than you by yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so ideally, nobody would cheat. There would be no need for divorce, right?
Hmm.
So, what leads to that? I was listening to a video earlier, and a psychologist was talking about it, and she was saying that usually you can tell, or like the biggest indicator would be emotional disconnect from your partner. So, let's say, and it's the little things, right?
Right.
It's always the little things. They either make it you or break you.
Yeah.
So, let's say you're the husband, you come from home from work, and your wife tells you, "Oh, I'm so tired." She's just telling you how she feels. And instead of like comforting her or being like, "Oh, how can I help?" or, "Well, tell me about your day," whatever, right? Instead of responding that way, you're like, "What do you mean you're tired? I'm the one who just got home from work. You've been at the house all day."
So like a stay at home saying that she's tired or something, or not
Mhm.
even a stay at home, just her
Yeah.
telling saying how
Yeah,
she
she's
feels.
trying to like connect with you emotionally, and you're like, "Nope, you're not validating her feelings." Or let's say you're the or you're the wife, and then your husband comes to you and he's like, "Hey, I love this show." He's trying to like bond with you. Can we watch my favorite show together? And you tell him, no, your shows are stupid. I don't want to watch your shows with you.
No. Mm-mm.
So that's just an example of that emotional disconnect. So in order for you to not even get there, like take the time to validate their feelings and bond with them.
Yeah, I think that comes with a communication thing.
Mhm.
Um, Not to justify anybody
Right.
not validating somebody's feelings, but um how do you combat that, right? Some tools to do that from the beginning, and not that we're experts or we're perfect or anything. This is just some stuff we've learned and we wanted to share. So communicate a little better. Like, don't just say I'm tired. Okay? what are you saying when you're tired? Hey, I had a really long day. I feel emotionally drained. You know, I feel like I took on a lot of battles by myself. I just want my partner. I just want to be with you. I just want to spend some time
Mhm.
with you. Don't, take it
Mhm.
further than I'm tired. He's gonna be like, okay, take a nap. Like, what? What do you want me to do? Like, I can't just give you energy. Um, but yeah, take it further. Be like, I had a really long day. I'm tired. Can we spend some time together? I would really enjoy this, or vice versa. And whoever is getting that I'm tired told to them, don't just take it at face value. Be like, hey, well, are you tired, like, physically? Do you just want to take a nap, or you want to, like, sit down, relax, we'll watch a show together, maybe we'll order some food in, or whatever it is. Then you're validating that person, but you're also digging deeper. You're getting the information you need to know what they want or what
Mhm.
they need.
Yeah. And a lot of women, we tend to do this. Women usually have higher emotional intelligence. So they
Hmm.
just assume that the men does too. But the men is logical.
Yeah, we're emotionally dumb. Just put it point blank.
So sometimes we forget that. So we expect the men to know certain things like, oh, he should know that this is my favorite, whatever, or he should know that this makes me feel this way. You just have to be blunt. And I know a lot of women are like, no, but if I have to tell him, then it doesn't count. It does count. Tell him. Can't read your mind. Be blunt. Juan and I are like this. I'll be like, I want this, this, and this. And I get it and I'm very happy. I'm not like waiting to see maybe he'll guess what I want. I'm like, no, hey, I want you to know this is what I want.
Yeah, and that's so great, right? Because what it does is it allows me to know, like, if you tell me, like, I know one of your, we'll say, vices or whatever is dark chocolate, right?
Mm,
So I know if you had a long day, or I, like, just through our communication throughout the day, I feel like you've had a long day, or I just want to see, like, that smile come across your face. What I do, I can come home with, it's pretty simple. Get some roses and some chocolates on the way home,
mm,
and you're gonna feel like, oh my goodness, right?
mhm,
So it's good to do that, because then it teaches me, because we're always learning. Um, it teaches me what you mean when you say something, because you could be like, I had a long day. I want this, this, and this. So now I start learning, I had a long day is tied to this, this, and this.
mm.
That's what you really mean, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I mean, to not to beat a dead horse, but when I did counseling, right? The counselor was like, if a woman says she's cold, what does the guy hear? He hears, oh, she's cold. Let me give you a blanket, right? But what does the woman really mean? She means, I want your physical touch. I want you to cuddle up with me. I want you to warm me up. I don't want a blanket. I had a blanket here all day. I've been waiting for you to come warm me up with your physical touch.
Mm.
And it's like, most women are just gonna be like, I'm cold, and the guy's gonna be like, put a sweater on. You know what I mean? Well, do you have a sweater and socks on? Like, that's the first thing, because we're logical. So
Yeah.
we're just gonna, it's gonna seem to the woman like we're just writing it off. Like,
Mhm.
oh, like, he doesn't care, he never listens, but that's not it. It's
Yeah.
just the guy's like, problem, solve it. Because that's
Mhm.
what men are meant to do. We're meant to solve problems. That's in our nature.
Mhm.
So again, not being a dead horse, but just tell them what you want.
Mhm. And I feel like you're pretty good at reading me, but like on the days or times that you don't, I just tell you.
Yeah.
And I don't feel any type of way. It doesn't make it any less better. He still did it.
I think you're pretty good with me too. I'm normally, like, don't really require much much maintenance, much anything.
Mhm.
I'm usually pretty good, but I feel like those things to do. If you know if I've had a long day or something, that you'll make my plate, or you'll just come, like, give me a hug if you could tell something, or you'll call me out on it. You'll be like, hey, like, your energy seems off. What happened at
Mhm.
work?
Mhm.
And I mean, it's those things, you make me feel validated. I'm like, damn, she does care. She loves me. She's paying
Mhm.
attention.
I
Yeah.
do care and I do love you. And
Well,
I am
good,
paying attention.
good.
Okay, so aside from the things that you can do on a daily, it's not just that. Of course, that's very important, and that's what's gonna, you want to keep doing that throughout the rest of your life. It's not just like, oh, I did it while we dated, now we're married. I don't have to do it anymore. No, you keep doing those things. But aside from that, most people come with traumas. Most people have not gone to therapy. Most people have not healed. So let's talk a little bit about some examples of what those traumas are. So, for example, let's say that they saw cheating in their house growing up. Maybe the dad cheated, maybe the mom cheated. That's going to affect that person, whether he or she realizes it or not. So that's either going to cause them to end up with someone who more than likely would cheat on them, or it will cause them to completely lose trust in the opposite sex, right? Just an example. Another reason why someone might cheat is because maybe when they were little, they were always told never to settle, that they were the best, that they were, nobody was good enough for them. So this person is while that's a good thing to a certain point, what it could also do to someone is make them think that there's somebody out there better for them all the time. So even if they are in a healthy relationship, they are with someone who is at their level, in the back of their mind, they're wondering or thinking that there's somebody out there that's better for them. Maybe their parents or people around them made them feel like their feelings didn't matter. So they're going to be really bad about setting boundaries. So instead of setting boundaries or confronting their partner or telling them how they really feel or what's going on, they're going to go look for that outside of the marriage because they don't they feel like their feelings aren't important or enough for them to set boundaries and talk about it and fix it with their spouse. So to them it's just easier to step out.
Yeah, especially to build on that. I feel like if you did experience cheating, like as you seen your parents cheat or step out, however you want to label it, and then there was a separation that happened after that. A lot of times the kids would be like, "Was it my fault? Was I a burden on the parents? Did I build on whatever they had going on?" Then you know they start kind of accusing themselves, and then they feel abandoned too. That's one of
Mhm.
the big things that
Mhm.
comes with it is abandonment, and then that person becomes sometimes they'll become codependent. Sometimes
Mhm.
they'll go through things to where there any argument feels like, "Oh, I'm gonna lose this person,"
Mhm.
so everything gets escalated, everything's amplified to them when the other person's like, we it's just a simple disagreement, but that person who went through something, if they haven't healed, if they haven't shared um you know some of their traumas, they might even be aware of it, right?
Mhm.
To It's amplified times 10 to any little thing, so then I feel like that causes a void in that relationship too.
Mhm. Yeah, and you could either become codependent or you can become hyper independent.
Yeah.
There's two ways you can go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it and I'm gonna say, how can you like know which one you are? And I'm sure like if anyone listening can probably like sit down and kind of reflect and think about how do I act? Do I have this? Am I this way or am I that way?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the nail on the head when you said reflect.
Mm,
Many people don't reflect. Many
mhm,
people don't say, wow, was I right? They're like, nope, they're wrong, I'm right. You know what I mean?
mhm,
But if you reflect on things, right, that's how you get growth.
mhm,
I mean, I'm always going to push for a coach, mentor, um,
mhm,
doing counseling. Well, I'll always push for that because it's important. It's You need somebody to call you out on your BS. Um, but you can do that with your partner. A lot of
mhm,
people don't like to hear it,
mhm,
but if you feel like, hey, maybe I do blow things out of proportion, ask people. So ask your partner, be like, hey, um, I felt like this went this way. This simple thing was a big argument, and I don't know. I feel like it shouldn't have been that. What are we doing? Did I do something? Did you do something? What do we do to work on it together? I
mhm.
don't. It sounds easy, but it's not an easy thing to just step into.
Yeah, it's not always easy to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably one of the hardest things to do.
Hmm.
So you never know what you're gonna find there. But another one could be like maybe their parents got divorced, so it's hard for, like I said earlier, it's hard for them to trust, or they didn't have a good example at home. Their parents didn't give them good advice. Their parents themselves didn't know how to keep a marriage, like a healthy marriage. So then now that's all they know, right?
Hmm.
All they know is what they saw at home. So then they take that into their relationships, acting like what they saw.
It's not an excuse, but it's kind of a reason where somebody would be that way, right? It was
Mhm.
something that was kind of out of their hands. but it's not anything that you should be like, oh well, that's just the way I was raised.
Yeah.
It's something to grow on, and make sure you're doing the work. You've seen it. If you've seen it happen in your family or around you, and you've seen the way it made you feel, or you've seen like the trauma that the parents went through going through that,
Mhm.
learn from it, right? Be like,
Mhm.
hey, I don't want to do that. I don't want to experience that. I don't want to hurt whoever I fall in love with that way.
Mhm.
So then that's when like that self-reflecting comes back into play, and looking and finding tools to help you heal, to help you deal with things, to help you communicate better.
Mhm. Like I mentioned before, a lot of us carry traumas from childhood, and while whatever happened to you was probably not your fault, it is your responsibility to heal. So whenever you go into a relationship, if you have not healed, you are more than likely going to attract a person who also has unhealed traumas. And I always tell people that your partner is a reflection of you. So if you're noticing things about your partner before you go and tell them that they need to fix yourself, take a look in the mirror and see what it is that you need to fix in yourself because something about you attracted that type of person. So sometimes, in order to see what it is that you need to work in, sometimes your partner is a good mirror because, like I said, they're a reflection of you. This episode was brought to you by BCN Supplements, our all natural supplement company. First off, we have our hydrolyzed collagen. This is a 4-in-1. It comes with vitamin C for better absorption, hyaluronic acid, and biotin. So, this is good for your skin, your hair, your nails, and your joints. And this is for both men and women. Next up, we have our immunity, which is a 7-in-1 vitamin. It has vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, echinacea, elderberry, black pepper, and garlic bulb. So this will give your immune system that extra boost. And lastly, we have our natural pre-workout. It does have 325 milligrams of natural caffeine from green tea. It is sweetened with stevia, and its purpose is energy, focus, and endurance. And for our listeners, we do have a discount code. If you visit our website, www.bcnsupps.com, you can use code BUILT, BUILT, for 10% off. Thank you so much for listening. You mentioned the word trauma. I guess we could talk a little bit what that even is.
Okay.
So, trauma is something that you saw that or that you experienced that changed your mind to prepare it for chaos. And I've used this example in the podcast I was in with my cousin. The example I used was, let's say that you're a young boy, your dad is your hero. That's where you feel the safest.
Hmm.
And then one day you see him hit your mom. And that just completely changes your brain, completely changes the way you see him. He's no longer your hero. You no longer feel safe with him. And now your brain is prepared for chaos. It's because it needs to find a way to cope.
Okay.
So, and that's also with cheating. Maybe you grew up in a healthy home, you never saw that before. So you go into a relationship, you're very trusting, and then someone cheats on you. So that's going to do that to you. Now you're like, oh, not every person is a good person, or not every person should be trusted. So now you have this, you're ready for this chaos now. So you're on your next relationship, you might have trust issues, and it's not the next girl's fault, right?
Mm-hmm. Like you said, you're prepared for chaos. It puts you in like a defensive position at all
Mm-hmm.
times. You can't self-reflect or grow from there. I know things that I've done, and it's a lot of self-reflecting. It's a lot of communicating with you, just trying to heal
Mm-hmm.
things and try to make sure that I don't repeat things. When we talk about that trauma,
Mm-hmm.
you always hear generational trauma and things like that. Like this
Mm-hmm.
person didn't know, and the next person didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I guess right at the same answer from before. If you've seen it and you experienced it, then there's so many tools nowadays that
Mm-hmm.
can help you with that. There's so many different things you can go to. But I think a counselor is probably like the best thing.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah. I don't know how somebody would self-diagnose to say, "Oh, I have a trauma experience," unless you are asked certain questions and somebody calls you out on it.
Usually, because the same problem keeps coming up in all your relationships,
Okay.
or even the same relationship is always the same problem. So you're like, what's going on? Why am I hitting a wall here?
Mm,
So that's usually how you know that you've got something you need to work on.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So another example of a trauma would be, like I mentioned, someone cheated on them. So now they think that the next person's going to do that too. So they like leave before the person even does it. Or some people will even go and do it before it gets done to them, kind of like, oh, well, I did it first. So I beat you to it, kind of thing.
Yeah. I could see that. I was trying to think of what it'd be. Self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To do like self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Damn, my mind just went blank. I had something for that.
Okay. So another thing would be that there was abandonment. So they're lacking love and they either get really clingy or they, like I said before, become hyper independent. And since they struggle with internal validation, then they're likely to look for external validation. And
Mm,
they're never going to fulfill that until they themselves heal because there's no person out there who can fill that void except for you coming to God, going to therapy, and actually you putting in the work and healing.
yeah, absolutely. So I remember what I was gonna say with the last one, but it kind of goes with this one too. So
Okay.
with that again, you'll start self-sabotaging
Mm-hmm.
because you had that traumatic experience, and then your self-esteem is
Mm-hmm.
gone. So then you're like, to that abandonment. I'm not. Nobody loves me. I'm not worth getting the
Mm-hmm.
love, this and that. And then in the relationship, when they start cheating themselves, it's like, they're probably gonna cheat on me. I would cheat on me. Everybody cheats on me, type thing. Like that's all my relationships are. It's like that just means your self-esteem and your self-worth, you're validate you're devalidating or whatever the correct terminology for that is. um
I guess invalidating.
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
What if y'all know what it is? Y'all know what I'm saying. All right. um you're taking away that validation from your self-esteem. Like you're saying it's okay for it to happen. It's not okay. You have
Mm-hmm.
to love yourself before you can love somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean saying, "Oh, I'm the shit," me, blah blah. No, that's not what loving yourself is. Loving yourself, um, read the Bible. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. It doesn't boast. Those are all things of, you know at church they're talking about an agape love, which is a love like the Lord loves,
Mm-hmm.
and that means that there's grace. He gives us grace. He's a
Mm-hmm.
perfect God. We're imperfect, and he shows us grace because he loves us. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to have grace with yourself, right? You have to be patient with yourself. You have to be kind to yourself. And once you start practicing that in you can do it to your partner, and you can start healing so much if you just really focus on that, learning how to love yourself. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that'll help you with the not getting cheated on because you're going to know your self-worth. You'll
Mm-hmm.
set those boundaries you were talking about earlier. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to say, no, I don't do this. I don't go there. That doesn't happen to me because I love myself,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm more important than whatever situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you love yourself like that, you say, we don't go there. We don't do this. You
Mm-hmm.
start building those boundaries. You start building that in a relationship, and you start building a true relationship. And if you build that relationship with God and yourself first, your foundation is solid. Don't waver from it. Build on it and build with somebody.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
That's all I got.
Yeah, that's actually what I had next. Low self esteem,
Oh, wow.
low self worth. Yeah, it all
I,
goes.
I didn't read your notes.
But yeah, that also comes when someone's abused, whether it's
Mm,
physically or emotional as well.
yeah. I mean, all of these are heavy topics, but I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's a it's a really heavy one, and it's as much physical as it is emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, if you've ever experienced that, I honestly 1000% recommend going to a therapist, talking to a counselor. Don't wait for things to get worse. Get out of there as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you got to do. Self preservation in that point of time, and
Mm-hmm.
then preserve first, and then love yourself enough to get out of there. Love yourself to know that this isn't okay. This isn't what I deserve. I'm worth that much more. You're a child of God. God, God's children don't deserve that, right? Um, like he sacrificed his son for you. That's how much he loves you. So have that enough understanding that you have plenty of people who love you, even if you feel like you don't. Your life matters to people. So do it for yourself. Do it for your loved ones. Get out of whatever abuse is happening. If it's in your control, which 99% of the time I feel like it is, and look for that help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's help. There's a lot of help. So, and we'll touch about what the Bible says about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before we do that, another thing that could happen, it was social media. Social media
Mm,
is also
cyberbullying?
what?
Cyberbullying?
No, cheating.
Oh,
That's the topic we're on right now.
oh, okay. I was gonna say just close the laptop and walk away.
No, so it makes you think that you have so many options, right? Because you're looking at all these
Uh,
other people, whether it's women or men. You're like, oh, look at this handsome man, or look at this beautiful woman,
mm,
and I have all these options. Well, first of all, you don't know if they even want you back. Second of all, they're- you don't even know if they're a good person.
third of all, they could be fake. They could be
They
AI.
could be AI. Yeah, so it's not as good as it looks. And then pornography is also another one
Yeah.
because it desensitizes you.
Yeah. Yeah. I like what Pastor Tim said on it. It's just pixels on your phone, right?
Mm,
So whenever somebody does that and they, know, get off to whatever,
mm.
you just had a moment with your phone. Like think about that next time you're gonna try to do something, right? It's
Yeah.
like, you know, you just paid $1,500 for that phone or whatever, and it has all this technology in it, and these pixels and stuff is what you're having moments with
Mm.
instead of finding a real person who can love you back.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't have alcohol on my notes, but I'm going to throw that in there too. It, yeah, it messes with what you would naturally do if you were sober.
Mm-hmm.
So you're more likely to do things that you wouldn't do when you're sober. So don't even put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, alcohol, anything that's gonna change your normal, anything that alters your normal state of being,
Hmm.
right? That would alter your decision making. Um, then yeah, I mean, no tolerances, no, not to be put in scenarios, know how to
Hmm.
get out of those situations.
Yeah. Like, that's why the Bible says don't get drunk. The
Hmm.
Bible's not against drinking. It doesn't say that drinking is bad. It says that getting drunk is bad
Yeah.
because of what it does to you,
Hmm.
because you're no longer have a sober mind. Another thing that happens whenever you date someone who hasn't healed their traumas, let's say a guy dates a girl with an OnlyFans, no matter how much he tells her that she's beautiful, no matter how nice he is to her, no matter how good he treats her, she's always going to be looking for that external validation outside of him because she doesn't feel like she doesn't have that inside of her. She doesn't feel like she's good enough or worthy enough. So what does she do? She takes off her clothes so that other men can tell her that she's beautiful because she needs that, right? So your competition is wouldn't be the men that are paying to see her half naked or completely naked. Your competition is her trauma because as long as she doesn't heal that trauma, she's going to keep doing those things and looking for other men to tell her that she's beautiful or that she's enough. All right. So now we talked about the possible reasons why someone might cheat. So now that we've talked about the different kind of traumas possible, I'm sure there's more out there. Uh, the reason we tell you guys to go to therapy before you get married and to heal your traumas before you get married and for your partner to do the same is because when you marry someone who has, or when you date even someone who has traumas that haven't healed, you're not actually competing with the opposite sex. So let's say you married this guy and he has low self esteem. He came from a broken home. He watches porn. Like he's carrying all this stuff, right? Your competition is not other women. Your competition are his traumas. Because no matter how much you try to validate him, he's still going to go out and look for it somewhere else because it's external validation that he's seeking, but that's not what he actually needs. So until he sits down, he reflects, he comes to God, he goes to therapy, and he actually heals, that's when he'll start being faithful. So it's not so much, you don't need to be trying to see who he's The other girl, that's not your competition, like I said, because it could have been her, it could have been the next girl. If it wasn't the next girl, it would have been the other girl. It's him that's looking for that.
Yeah, I wanted to, in a way, tie it to somebody who abuses drugs or alcohol, right?
Mm,
Um, they never, as many times as they say, "Oh, I'm gonna quit," and then they tell you, "I'm 7 days sober," or so on or so on.
mm,
Um, they always go back to it, right?
mhm,
Until they have a real change.
mhm,
And what does that change normally mean? That some people can just quit, and applauds to them, but a lot of people um need guidance through it.
mhm,
They need to have something that makes them want to change. They have to want that in themselves. They have to work on it. They have to, a lot of them, find God,
mhm,
because why? They're trying to fill a void with
mhm,
all that, and God's the only one who will be able to fill it.
mhm. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're not understanding it in their trauma ways, look at it in the similar
Mhm.
way to try to understand that.
Yeah, I like that. That comparison's good. Yeah. And aside from trying to, let's say you did heal your, a person with a secure bond, because there are different types of bonds. You have the one where you're hyper independent, you have the one where you're very clingy, and you have the one where it's called the secure attachment. If you're at a place where you have a secure attachment with your partner, then other than trying to emotionally connect with them on a daily, also don't be putting yourself in certain situations. Like, if you know that when you drink, you get a certain way, don't go out drinking without your partner, or don't go out getting drunk. Some people ask, is going to the strip club cheating? Well, what does the Bible say? If you lust after someone, that's already cheating. So if you're at the strip club, that's what you paid to do, to go lust.
Yeah. Yeah, to build on that, like not putting yourself in those situations. A lot of people don't realize they put themselves in that lusting situation, like you were saying, when they have all these things on social media. Your social media, everybody's like, "Oh, that's all TikTok has." I always hear a lot of guys at work. I'll call it all out. The guys at work uh, say that, but you can scroll through my TikTok for like a whole day, and that won't come across. You're gonna find a whole lot of dogs. You're gonna find a whole bunch of dogs. You're gonna find a whole bunch of comedians and stuff, and you'll find a whole bunch of um, like building, construction, DIY stuff, because I like that stuff, right? But you can change your algorithms by what you follow, what you like. So if that's all the algorithm is pushing on you, it's probably because that's what you're feeding into. And if you start changing all that, you can change that algorithm to where you don't have to be all of that. You don't have to delete your social medias. You can literally change the algorithm on it.
Hmm. And if you guys watch my videos, you know that I usually compare TikTok to how life works. So whatever you put your energy into, you're gonna get more of that. So if those videos or pictures are coming up, and the
Algorithm.
and the algorithm sees that you're spending time watching it, it's gonna give you more of that. But if you just scroll past it and you stay longer on other types of videos, then it's gonna show you more of those videos that you spend more time on. And like we said, we know this because we've used it, we've done it. We have, like, if you look at my TikTok, it's a lot of Bible stuff because that's what I've been
Yeah.
into the most lately. So, and that's life too. If you focus on one thing, you're going to get more of it. If you focus on gratitude, you're going to get more things. If you focus on lack, you're going to stay in lack. That's just how life works. So, Pastor Tim talked about the three places where cheating takes place the most. And he mentioned it was work, number one. And that's usually because if the husband doesn't feel respected or loved or shown affection and admiration at home, and then he goes to work, and this lady at work is showing him respect and admiration, and oh my god, you're so smart, oh my god, you're such a good leader, oh my god, whatever, right? They usually tend to fall for that. So work is the number one place for that to happen. So obviously, I'm not saying that's okay or that should be justified. It's not. But if you are married, make sure you are making your husband feel respected, loved, seen, admired. Admiration is a huge thing for guys. The other one is the gym because the way he put it was that because of the way people are dressed, right? So then a guy comes up to you, he's like, "Oh, you're looking so good. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." And that's usually how it starts. And then the last one was social media because, like I mentioned, people seem to think that they have so many options, even though just because that could be an option doesn't mean that's a good option. So those are the three main places where cheating kind of starts or takes place. Another thing I tell people is if you are in a serious relationship, there is no need for you to have friends of the opposite sex. So I hear a lot of people saying like, "Oh, the only reason I know men so good or I know so much about men is because I have male friends," or the opposite, right? Guys are like, "Oh yeah, it's because my the friends that are girls give me advice or whatever." Whatever excuse it is. That's really unnecessary. If you're single, then yeah, that's fine. But if you're in a committed relationship, you don't need to do that. I don't believe that it's always platonic. I feel like if you are friends with someone, it's because one of you is attracted, one of you is waiting for that moment. So let's say you're a woman, you're in this relationship, you're having problems with your partner, you call your guy friend, and now you're venting to him, telling him how bad he treats you, or oh, he did this thing and it was so wrong. So what is he gonna do? He's gonna be like, oh, he's such a loser. Why are you even with him? I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't treat you that way, right? So I feel like you're just opening doors that don't need to be opened. So, like I've said before, if you are having problems in your relationship and you need someone to talk to, go to someone who is of the same sex, who is older and wiser, and can give you good advice. Now, we're going to go into what the Bible says. We know that the Bible says, till death do us apart, but that is assuming that you both do what you're supposed to do, that you live according to what God told you to do and act the way He expects you to act. The husband loves the wife like he loves his own body, the wife respects the husband, they're faithful to each other, all these things, right? That's the kind of marriage that He's like, till death do you apart. Now, what happens when one of the person steps out and cheats? When one of the person abandons the other person, or when the person is an abuser? That's not part of what he told you to do. So what do you, as the other person in the marriage, do in this situation? So whenever we did our premarital counseling, she didn't talk about this, but I asked her later because I hear a lot of Christians say, no matter what, you have to stay because that's what the Bible says. And I told her, I was like, I've always known that's not so, but I need a Christian licensed person to tell me to tell me this, licensed professional. And she said, if he cheats, if he abandons you,
If they,
sorry, you're right. If they cheat, if they abandon you, or if they abuse you, you don't have to stay. Now, you do have free will if you want to stay. That's 100% up to you. But do not feel like you have to because that's what God wants. That's not what God wants. He doesn't want you to suffer. He doesn't want you to be stepped all over. That's not what he calls your partner to do. That's not what you're not that's not okay. And he's not okay with that. And whoever told you that that's what he wants for you lied to you. And it upsets me because so many people stay saying it's because what God wants me to stay. And that's not it. Now, if you want to stay, if you feel like that's the best thing for you and your kids and your marriage, that's you. And that's okay as well. You have free will. You can do whatever you want. What bugs me is when people say, I can't leave because God. That's not true.
they use that as a crutch because they're scared,
Mm,
and then they say they rather put it on God than on themselves.
mm,
Because God tells you to do a lot of other things. Are you doing all those things?
mm-hmm.
Do you do every single thing the Bible tells you to do? Probably not, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You make all your decisions to make all the sins you want. and you come back because we're humans, we're of the flesh, we do sin,
Mhm.
but that's the one you're going to use to crutch on, right? So
Mhm.
I think it's coming from a place of fear that a lot of people will say, oh, because of that. And then also, um I think again their self-esteem took a hit. They're like, this is the
Mhm.
best this is what it is, this is my life. They just take
Mhm.
a thing of acceptance and instead of understanding how great and powerful they can be.
Mhm. I didn't just hear it from her. I heard it from another psychologist, another doctor who's also Christian. And he shared some verses, and one of them was Matthew 5:31. It says, "It has been said, anyone who divorces his wife must give her a certificate of divorce. But I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife, except for sexual immorality, makes her the victim of adultery, and anyone who marries a divorced woman commits adultery." But it does have that little exception, except for sexual immorality. And there's another one where he talks about abandonment. All right, so we talked about cheating, abusing, and abandonment. That other doctor that I heard talk about this, he read 1 Corinthians 7:15, and it says, "If the unbelieving partner separates, let it be so. In such cases, the brother or sister is not enslaved. God has called you to peace." So you don't need to lose your dignity and go chasing after them, begging them, or waiting your whole life for them. If they choose to leave, let them. That's not on you. And it says the unbelieving partner, because a real God fearing man wouldn't or woman wouldn't do that to you. That's why it says if the unbelieving partner leaves, let them. You, the brother or sister, is not enslaved. God has called you to peace. So the fact that it says that God has called you to peace, you don't have to put up with those any of those three things. Now, if it's outside of those three things, we recommend you work on it. And we're not here to tell you you should leave, you shouldn't do this. We're not telling you what to do. It is 100% your life. You have free will. You are free to do whatever you feel is best for you and your kids if you have kids. We're just sharing with you what the Bible says. God, He gave you free will. He said, and there's another one, another verse where it says, this is not the law, this is advice. And I think that comes from Paul
Mm-hmm.
when he talks about marriage.
Yeah.
So it's not that we're telling you what to do, we're just telling you what the Bible says. So just don't feel, if you're a religious person, don't feel that you have to stay because of religion or because of God. If you want to stay, that's going to be 100% up to you. If you're like, you know what, I'm going to do it for my kids, nobody's going to judge you for that. That's 100% your decision. All right. So if you're someone who has been cheated on or you're someone who cheated or thinking about it, something that keep in mind is when the Bible tells us to do things, it's usually for our own protection. It's not just a book that says, don't do this because I said so. It's usually, don't do this for your own good. So, what happens whenever you sleep with someone? There is an exchange of energies, and there is something that happens that's called soul ties. So, whenever that's why sex is supposed to be saved for marriage, because when you get married, when you sleep with someone, you're tying your soul to their soul. And then that's why the Bible says, until death do you apart, because whenever you die, your souls separate, right? You don't have a partner in the afterlife. So, what happens when you go sleeping around with different people? You're creating soul ties with a bunch of different people. You're exchanging energies, you're picking up spirits, and it could be traumas, it could be curses, it could be STDs. There's so many negative things that you can pick up. And I've used the example because here in Houston, human trafficking is huge. If you're a guy that sleeps with the girl, and that girl, before she slept with you, she slept with another guy, and that guy slept with a girl that had been sex trafficked, imagine how many demons or spirits that girl is carrying. Not to her own fault, right? But that's what happens. Who is she sleeping with? A bunch of bad people. So all of that gets passed on to you. And if you are married, you're bringing that back into your household, into your wife, an innocent person who does not deserve that. So that's something very heavy to think about. Because, like I said, it's not only spirits, it's also physical things like STDs. And now you're tied to all these different souls. And usually, when you sleep around, um, or sometimes you're in a relationship, you slept with the person, and then you're trying to leave them, and you keep thinking that you're missing them or you want to go back to them. It's not that they're good for you, or it's not even that you actually love them, but it's that soul tie that's tying you to that person. So it's hard for you to let go. And then, of course, there's some people who say there are rituals in order to break those ties, but I highly recommend waiting until marriage. And if you are married, before you step out on anyone, think about the damage that you would be causing that person.
Ideally, you would work on all your traumas, and you'd get your partner to work on their traumas as well to avoid situations like that. You would find the self love and in yourselves and then in each other to seek for that help if there is
Mhm.
any traumas, or you feel like there might be problems in the relationship, or whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
Or even if you're just like, hey, I don't want to have problems, and then the reality is you're gonna have problems. So then you're like, okay,
Mhm.
well, what can I do? Well, how can I be prepared for these problems? So then that's something could do too, right? Um, to not get in those situations.
Mhm. If you decide to stay, because I tell people if you're only dating, absolutely no. Like, what are you doing? I'm saying, like, if you're married and you have kids and you're like, okay, this is something that's not only going to affect me, it's going to affect other people around me. I won't. But if you're dating, you have no reason to stay. Like, literally no reason. There's nothing tying you to that person. Th- Just if you're a guy and you stay, more than likely you're going to start losing respect for yourself for not being man enough to be able to walk away. And what's going to happen, you're going to grow angry, resentful, and a lot of the times those men start getting abusive towards the woman because they're so mad at themselves. And the woman, you stay, you'll probably what women do is they start falling out of love and also lose respect for that person. The trust is gone. That's why I'm like, if you're only dating, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm sure everybody the slap heard around the world, right?
The what?
The slap heard around the world
What is that?
when Will Smith went up and
Oh,
slapped Chris Rock because he
oh.
was so angry, right? He's been
Mm,
so disrespected. So
mm,
for
mhm,
anybody to feel like any less because they end up in a situation like that or whatever, um, Will Smith pioneered so much for African
mhm,
Americans, right? For
mhm,
actors, for musicians, um, and I think he did all of it without cussing and stuff like that, which is huge. So he's this
mhm,
person who's respected by everybody else. He's looked at as a mentor and all this, but it still happened to him, right? To where there's the loss of respect,
mhm,
and you could just see how angry he was by lashing
mhm,
out that way.
mhm,
So I don't think anybody should feel any less if they end up in that situation, which is a terrible situation, right?
mhm,
Um, but understand that's what the outcome is if you just let it build up.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so crazy to me because he lost so much respect from his fans. Like people, like if that woman would have just not done to him what she keeps doing to him, like people would have so much respect for him. But the way that she disrespects him and she does it publicly
Yeah.
and he puts up with it,
Hmm.
to me, I'm nobody to judge. I'm just gonna be quiet. But mm, no.
Yeah. And I mean, for everything, right? We're not telling anybody what to do. We're not saying anybody's dumb if they stay, or we're not saying
No.
that you're a
Unless you're dating.
horrendous person or whatever. This is just stuff we've learned, stuff we've grown, and stuff we felt is useful information for people. Um,
Mhm.
a lot of people, like she said, people had questions about it, and that's the whole reason for having us here to talk about it, is that people people need counsel.
Mhm.
Kings, most powerful people in the world, they need counsel.
Mhm.
Our sleepy president has a, he has his council members. He
I
has,
don't know. He's a good example.
well, yeah, but I mean, I'm saying like supposed to be the most powerful man in the world, right? With the
Mm,
most power at his
right.
at a disposal.
Mhm.
They have chambers, they have counsel.
Mhm.
You always, everybody needs counsel, everybody needs people to talk to, everybody needs to
Mhm.
hear, sometimes to be called out on it. Sometimes you
Mhm.
need to be like, hey dude, you need to wake the fuck up. Like,
Mhm.
and then sometimes it's like, hey, you're doing really good. It's not
Mhm.
always negative counsel, right?
Right.
So yeah, we all need counsel. Like kings even need counsel. When in the Bible, Joseph's story, right? He ends up a prisoner, but he gets the gift of interpreting dreams. And the king's having these dreams. He has all these supposed to be really intelligent people at his disposal, interpreters, magicians, whatever you want to call them, that are they can't figure out what the dream is, right? It's just a problem, same problem over and over. Nobody can figure it out. Well, somebody who had been in jail with Joseph was told him, he's like, hey, there's this guy. He's currently in your prison. He can interpret these dreams better than anybody else. And they call for him. He interprets it. He was right, and then he leads them on his counsel. With it was somebody he didn't know he needed. He didn't expect he needed. Um, that ended up helping him. So you can find help in many different situations, but the whole point is everybody requires a counsel.
Mhm. I agree. And I was looking at not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, we talked about cheating at church.
Hmm.
And the pastor talked about David's story. So I'm going to summarize it real quick.
Oh, seen across from the roof.
Uh-huh. That one.
Uh-huh.
So the David and Bathsheba. Bathsheba?
Sure.
It's so funny that her name is Bathsheba. She was in the bath.
Yeah.
Okay. And dad joke. So the story is, I read this part real quick. If you don't know David, that's King David. He killed the giant Goliath. God loved him. He chose him to be the king, even though it wasn't in his bloodline to be. But David, being a human, imperfect, he did something. So it says, one evening, David got up from his bed and walked around on the roof of the palace. From the roof, he saw a woman bathing. The woman was very beautiful, and David sent someone to find out about her. The man said, she is Bathsheba, the daughter of somebody, and the wife of Uriah. I think I'm saying that right.
Hmm.
So then David sent messengers to go get her. She came to him, and he slept with her. And I think it's interesting that right after that it says, now she was purifying herself from her monthly uncleanness. Uncleanness?
Hmm.
How do you say that word? Uncleanness. Yeah.
Sure.
Because back then when they were on their period, they used to not sh- shower or bathe. They would wait until after. And so also what that tells you is that she was ovulating
Yeah.
because it was right after her period.
Yeah.
I just think that's interesting. I never thought of it that way. So what happened? She was ovulating. Then she went back home. The woman conceived and sent word to David saying, I'm pregnant. So this woman is married. She slept with the king. And now she's pregnant with his baby. And what does David do? He tries to bring Uriah back from war because that's where he was, so that he can sleep with his wife, so then they can tell him that that's his son. But Uriah, being a good man, doesn't sleep with his wife because he's like, my men are out there suffering,
My brothers.
my brothers. He's like, why would I come over here and enjoy myself?
Yeah.
So what does David do? He sends him to the front lines so he can get killed, and he does get killed. So then God sees this, he gets mad at him. David repents, but he still ends up with this lady, and God ends up killing their son. And that was his punishment.
Hmm.
So just know that if someone did you wrong, if you don't leave this earth without paying for the things you've done. So don't try to get revenge. Leave it to God. God's revenge is going to be better than yours. Not saying to wish bad upon them, but God is a just God. He is a fair God.
Yeah, I agree. I also think God's also a loving God.
Mm-hmm.
God loves you.
Mm-hmm.
He wants you to learn your lessons and repent from that.
Mm-hmm.
So you will learn lessons. You will need to go through your repentance. But the love God has for you is He wants you to see you do well. He
Mm-hmm.
wants you to prosper. So, with all that being said, if you've gone through anything or whatever, know that God loves you still and you can
Mm-hmm.
still heal so you don't keep repeating those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you do have to look at both sides of the coin, right?
Mm-hmm.
The person who got hurt and the person who hurt them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we're so about going to therapy, going to counseling. And he did. He forgave David and he still loved him and but he was like, every action has a consequence.
Yeah. And I mean, we're also talking about Old Testament
Mm,
versus New Testament, where we've all been, by the grace of God,
mm-hmm.
saved through Jesus.
Right.
So Jesus paid for our sins, but that doesn't mean you should take it for granted. That you should just take advantage of it and be like, oh, I could do whatever. I'll be out here wilding. Jesus paid for my sins. No, that's not what it
No.
is.
Every every action has a consequence.
Yeah, yeah. Pastor Tim said it really well. You get to you get to make the decision
Mm,
on what your action is, but you don't get to choose the consequence.
mm,
That's out of your power, right?
yeah.
You have to live with whatever that consequence is.
Yeah.
So that's something that's a food for thought.
Yeah. So if you're someone who's been in this situation, we're not here to tell you what to do. We're not here to judge you. We're not here to, I don't know, do any of those things. We're just here to tell you what may have caused it. Maybe something you can do about it in the future
Yeah.
if it did
Now
happen to you.
you can do it now.
Right, right. No, I meant like for a future relationship.
Yeah.
But yeah, do it now. um, heal from it, and then it's up to you. You decide what the best thing for you to do is. Is it to leave? Is it to stay? That's 100% up to you. Only you know your situation. Talk to God. Ask Him for guidance. Ask Him for wisdom. Everyone's situation is different. We're not going to sit here and say everything's the same across the board.
I mean, we just wish the best for y'all. We wish the best for everybody listening. Y'all are the reasons we're sitting here doing this, right? We want to add a tool to your toolbox. If you listen to this and you hear something from it, take from it. Don't just take us at our word. Go read the scriptures she mentioned. Go fact check us on it. And try some of it. If they're like, oh, they're just kumbaya about this or that, about counseling, try it. Give it a chance.
Yeah, but if you're someone who's barely dating, you're not married to anyone, you're not engaged to anyone, you're just getting to know people right now. Like I always tell y'all, find out about their childhood, find out, ask God for discernment, find out what kind of person they are, what their insecurities are, what their traumas are. Are they willing to get help? Are they God fearing? Remember that divorce rate is a whole lot less for Christian or not Christian, God fearing marriages.
Yes.
Because
So
it's not about religion. So what do you fear God?
so divorce rate has a 44% chance. Marriage has a 44% chance in ending in divorce for non-believers. If you're a believer and you pray together and you're God fearing, it's a 1 in 10,000 that are getting divorced. If that doesn't speak to you, work on some math problems. Understand the how huge that is. Understand that there's hope. Understand that whatever you've been through doesn't define you. It's a part of your journey. It was there for you to learn from it. Maybe it's for you to be that transitional character in your lineage. Um, it might be for you to share your story and help somebody out there that feels a little lost, feels like they don't know where to turn. Um, just be that person that you needed.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope that this was helpful. And just know that there is hope for if you're in a marriage, there is hope for your marriage. And maybe on the next one, we can talk about hope
Yeah.
because it's not all bad.
Yeah. Marriage is
It's not all
amazing.
lost. Yeah. Yeah. So if this was helpful, if you liked it, please subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications. Did I already say hit the like button?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No.
Like it again.
Yeah, like it again.
Send it to someone who you think might need to hear this, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for tuning in to Build from the Inside Out.